Good afternoon and welcome to Artists of Color. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm your host, Elaine Hall-Corbin, and it's nice to be back and have you guys with me this afternoon. Today, my guest is Derek Lumpkins, Director of Northeastern Crossing, which is a community space, which I've been telling everybody about. Good afternoon, Derek. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm good.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, I know. We see each other all day.
All the time, yes, yes.
Derek, tell my audience a little bit about you, who you are.
Sure. So how far back do you want me to go?
I'll go back as far as you want to go.
So I was born here in Boston. Born and raised here in Boston. Okay. Grew up in Roxbury, went to Mission Grammar School, Boston Latin School, went away for college, came back, and then after doing a couple of jobs, worked at Discover Roxbury for 7 years.
Yeah, that's where we met.
That's how we met, yes. So I was the executive director for 5 of those 7 years. Yep. And we met probably during that part of my time at Discover Roxbury. I was there until the summer, or late spring, early summer of 2015, and that's when I applied to work at Northeastern University to become the inaugural director of neighborhood partnerships and programs at Northeastern Crossing, and I've been there since. So it's been almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years on June 15th.
Oh, June.
Yes.
I put you in with when they cut the ribbon.
Oh, okay, in September. So, well, someone had to be there to help set it up in advance, so that was me. So I was there in June, and then we opened up in September. So my second anniversary at Northeastern will be on June 15th, so gifts are welcome.
I'm going to give you a gift, all right?
I'm sure you will. Mm-hmm.
It's good. Okay, so now we know about you. And what I'm going to ask next is, besides the fact that you applied, how did you get to Northeastern Crossing? In other words, what made you go there?
Okay. So when I was at Discover Roxbury, we were doing a lot of events, a lot of different types of events, as you well know. So we did historic tours, we worked with artists, we also partnered with different organizations around the city, so theatrical groups and museums and universities as well. And with the universities, we did some partnerships in terms of getting their students to come to Roxbury to understand the assets that the neighborhood has, to explore some of the businesses, to get to meet people so that it wasn't such a superficial way of understanding what the neighborhood is. So we worked with Northeastern, with Mass Art, with UMass Boston, with Wentworth, with several schools in the immediate area. Yes.
Great.
And so when I was getting to the point where I said, okay, it's time for me to go to another job, because 7 years is a long time in one organization. I thought, okay, well, why don't I look to see what's out there in higher ed, because I had already been working with higher ed institutions in different ways.
Oh, okay.
And so this position to me was interesting, because at Discover Roxbury, it was the small organization working with the bigger institutions. This was a chance to sort of turn it around. Exactly. Be at a bigger institution where I could work with smaller organizations and individuals in the neighborhoods.
Okay. So, all right. So you've been there a minute.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Tell my audience, what is Northeastern Crossing?
Sure. So Northeastern Crossing is a relatively new space. It'll be coming up on 2 years this September. And it is a space designed to provide the resources of the university to the public for free. So the resources vary. They can be, we have Wi-Fi, we have the 2 spaces, so we have a conference room space, we have a classroom space. There's a lounge where people can come and just sit. They can bring their lunches and just come and sit there. So we try to provide some of the physical resources of the university to the public. But we don't want to be just a space where someone comes in, uses a computer, and then goes home. Or comes in, sits in a classroom, and then just goes home. We really want to make sure that there's some intention behind when someone comes to the space, and get them to see the university as beyond something more than just the physical space. So when we meet people, and people come in for their own meetings, or just to hang out, just to learn what's going on at Northeastern Crossing, we also sort of ask what they're working on, what their interests are, because there are lots of faculty and other staff who can also serve as resources as well. So we've connected people to folks at HR who can help them with resume writing or tweaking their resumes. Yep. We've connected people to the law lab and some of the faculty there, to the humanities school and to some of the folks over there. So we've really done a lot to sort of say, don't just come in and use the space and use a computer, but also learn what else you can do in order to really enrich what you're doing by using some of the human resources of the university. Now, we also try to position ourselves as a resource for the university as well. So, of course, there are lots of faculty, staff, students who want to go into the neighborhoods with a project or with a proposal, and they come and ask us, well, who should we talk to? And as we talk to them about their ideas, we ask them, well, have you spoken to people about this first? Have you asked the questions? How do you know that people want what you're proposing?
Okay.
Because, as you know, people in Roxbury, in the South End, or Mission Hill are working on their own solutions to their own problems.
That's right.
And so how do you know that just because you
what-
studied this in a book that the neighbors want what you're offering?
Exactly.
So we also try to get them to think about, well, before you just bring something out there and say, hey, we've got 50 students, why don't we come and help you out with this? We try to get them to say, well, why don't you talk to this one person first, or talk to this organization first, so that you have a better sense of the context, and that it's not just Northeastern trying to solve your problems, but trying to be a partner in solving and finding solutions together.
Okay. Yeah. Now, some of the programs that Northeastern Crossing has been involved with, as far as, you know, what goes on at Northeastern Crossing, what are some of the programs that you guys have partnered with that have come out of Northeastern Crossing?
So there's been a very wide variety, and we kind of split them up into different buckets of topic. So one is, well, health and wellness. So we do a bi-weekly Afro Flow yoga class. So they're usually on Wednesdays, and I think you might have gone to one or two of those.
I've been to 4 of them.
I've been to 4 of them. Okay, so yes, so they happen every other week,
Yep.
usually on Wednesdays. So one Wednesday is an afternoon around lunch,
Yep.
and the other Wednesday is an evening after work.
Yes.
And so, you know, we try to make sure that, you know, we give people enough opportunity to go to one or the other.
Okay.
So there's health and wellness. So Afroflow Yoga was one. We had Zumba classes. We did Pound class. There's also self-care, which sort of comes out of that as well. So meditation was something that we've done. You know, just different things to really align mind, body, and soul, just to sort of help
Yeah.
people. We had nutrition classes a couple of times as well.
Yep, I was at those
You
too.
went to that. All right. You could do this interview without me. You really could. So
It was good.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
People have been enjoying that. We've gotten some really good feedback on our programming. So health and wellness is one area. We also brought in Jeff Chang, who is a very well-known author and journalist who came in February, and I think you might have missed that.
I missed that.
Yeah, he was fantastic. We flew him over from California. We collaborated with 11 different departments at the university to bring him to Northeastern.
Really?
And so he often talks about, well, his focus is the intersection of race, justice, and hip hop. It's
And hip-hop?
very interesting. Yeah, so he looks
I
at a lot
wish
of
I
things
could
through the
have
lens
been
of
there
hip hop. Yeah, so he was fantastic, and he talked about his new book, which he brought, and he spoke about it, and he was just an amazing speaker. So we had him in one of the bigger rooms on campus. It had about 300 people there.
Oh, so you didn't have it.
No,
you had to
so
put- I know you guys held it, but you didn't have it there.
correct, right.
Did you have 300 people?
We probably had 200 and change.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it was really good. He was really powerful. We had him there for 24 hours. So he did a master class as well as that lecture. He hung out with the humanities department. He, you know, had lunch with some students. So we really tried to make sure that everybody got a chance to meet him at some point in time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we try to do a lot of things. So when we think about providing the resources of the university, it's not just the space and the physical resources. It's not just the people who are at Northeastern, but also our ability to bring in speakers, our ability to bring in new contacts and new opportunities that may not even be in Boston, because that is part of the global reach of Northeastern. Northeastern is a global university. It has campuses in Silicon Valley, in North Carolina, Toronto, and one other place I can't remember. But so it's become a global university, and so this is an opportunity also to provide those resources at a global scale here in Boston.
Boston?
Right.
Now, that when you talked about global university, that was something I never knew. I didn't know they had campuses in other areas of the country. I thought it was just here.
Yes, so I didn't know that until I became a staff person either. So I think Silicon Valley and Seattle, that's the other one, they were already open by the time I got there. And then I believe North Carolina opened shortly after I arrived, and then Toronto was the spring after I arrived. So a lot of things happened
wow.
very quickly. Yes.
Northeastern Crossing, how did it come about?
So Northeastern, like all the universities in Boston, has to submit its 10-year institutional master plan.
Okay.
And back in 2011, that's when the new master plan was being developed and being talked about with the Boston Redevelopment Authority, when it was still called that. And there was also the IMP group, which was a group of neighbors from Roxbury, the South End, Fenway, and Mission Hill, who are all part of the board, who are giving their feedback to Northeastern's ideas.
Okay.
And at some point, and I was actually one of those people who was on the IMP group, and then I had to resign in order to become a staff person. But yeah, a lot of things. But with that, there was one point, I don't remember exactly when, but there was one point where back in 2011 or 12, someone brought up the idea of there being some type of community space on campus that Northeastern would resource, so that it wasn't this sense of Northeastern's this large anonymous institution that has all these resources, whereas people in the neighborhoods don't. There was people were looking for a way in which there could be some point of contact and some point where people could learn about the university and understand what was happening at the university, somewhere beyond just a neighborhood meeting, once a month at night or through the BRA. They wanted something that was more permanent and much more accessible. And so that came up, and I guess. So I don't know all the backstory behind it, but that was taken, and the powers that be decided that was a good idea, and the Northeastern Crossing was conceived that way, and so it became part of the IMP. And so when they put out the job description for the director, that's kind of when I saw it. Just happened to be around the time I started looking, and so that's when I saw it. And that's how I applied. Yeah, so that's how the dots all get connected.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I was wondering. Let's talk about. Who's besides we started out talking about wellness and health. Let's talk about some of the other programs that have come into Northeastern Crossing. So,
sure.
Yeah.
Was there anything in particular?
In particular?
So, yeah.
You did recently the Black Artist Movement.
Yes.
How did that come about? I was there, but tell me how that came about. I was really excited when I heard about that. Tell me how that came about.
So we have 2 staff people. So besides myself, I have a staff of 2. And so there's one person who's internal and one person who's externally focused. And so they both have their division of labor in terms of what we do at Northeastern Crossing. But because one is from the South End, Chinatown, the other's from Roxbury, they're also very knowledgeable about the neighborhoods and very knowledgeable about people in the neighborhoods. And so one of the staff spoke to Valerie Stevens, who was the person who was talking about the Black Arts Movement, and they were looking for ways in which to provide content and programming for Black History Month. And so just over the course of time, just in doing her job, I believe it was Marissa who was, just talking to Valerie Stevens, they were just looking for ways in which to bring some of that content into Northeastern Crossing for Black History Month, and just in recognition of the fact that there's a lot of Black artists in Boston who don't always have platforms. True. So this was a platform. This is also an opportunity just in terms of the yearly programming that most people do around Black History Month. And so this just became an opportunity for this content to come to Northeastern Crossing.
Okay, it was a very, very, very good program.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like.
So there was that with the Black Arts Movement with Valerie Stevens, but Valerie Stevens also brought the 4 Women concert.
Yep.
Featuring Nina Simone's work.
I was there for that too.
I saw you there. Yeah. So there was just a lot of content that was brought in just through that connection alone. And again, it's because all 3 of us on staff live in the neighborhoods in which we also work, and so there's this sense of. It's not just we're opening the doors and hoping people come. We're opening the doors and we're inviting our friends, our family, our neighbors to come in and really make this space their own, and also to tell other people and then tell other people, so that this, again, becomes a resource for everybody and becomes a point of contact between people off campus and people on campus.
Okay. What are the future plans? Do we have future plans for Northeastern Crossing?
So that conversation is just beginning to happen. So there has been some talk around Northeastern Crossing 2.0. It's all very premature.
Okay.
So I can't really get into too much of it because there's a lot of brainstorming that's happening right now.
It's a lot still going on.
A lot still going on. A lot of brainstorming that's happening. Just in thinking about things much more immediately. So let's say within the next 6 months to a year.
Okay.
We are thinking about some of the programming that we will be doing. So for example. Last summer, we did some programming outside of the actual space.
The space,
right,
the immersion.
Right. So Immersion was one of them. So we have the indoor space, which is a decent sized space. It's about 17 or 1800 square feet, which is where we have all of our programming, all of our indoor programming. But the president of the university has also tasked us with activating some of the outdoor space as well. And so originally, this was a request that came through, I think, just before we were about to open. So, once the staff were all on board, we had to start thinking about, well, what does it look like to activate space outside? What does it mean in terms of resources? What does it mean in terms of who is going to attend these events and attend these kinds of things? And so as we began to understand the university and understand who's living and working around the university and what some of the possibilities were, we worked with our umbrella office of City and Community Affairs. So Northeastern Crossing is under City and Community Affairs.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so there's City and Community Affairs, and then there are about 5 different divisions underneath that, and so we're one of the 5.
Okay.
And so we're working with our colleagues in that team because they do a lot in terms of working with city government, working with state government, just working with different municipalities and governmental bodies and governmental individuals. And so they helped us with getting the permits and all the things that we needed to do in order to activate that space. And so we just found different ways in which we could do it through the arts, through health and wellness. In last September, we had a mixer. And so, there's a chance for people, new students, returning students, faculty, staff, residents to all come together in an outdoor, it's basically a small block party.
It was.
Yeah, and so we just got everybody to come together.
And food,
right?
Because the president came out for that too.
Yes, and he came out for that. He gave a great speech, and he stayed. He had a great time. He really enjoyed being there. So, just in thinking about the future, for this summer we'll be doing something similar. We'll be having outdoor events again in that space.
Okay.
So, and I know I haven't said, so that space is in the plaza in front of Ruggles Station.
Exactly.
So for those folks who haven't been, there's the 2 ends of Ruggles. There's a side that's mostly on Northeastern's campus. So that's the side closest to Huntington. And then we're on the other side closer to Ruggles Street and Whittier Street.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the space that we activate. And so we're just thinking about ways in which we'll be doing that again this summer. And then the September event will be happening again. We're already thinking about that.
Okay.
But then with the new science building that you saw recently.
Yeah, I was in there today.
Yeah. So we may have an opportunity to activate the space in front of that building as well.
Oh, that would be nice because it's huge, but it's it's beautiful.
Yes.
It really is beautiful. Yeah. I can't wait. I really would like to be there for all of them. Well, I'm going to be there.
I'm sure you're going to be there.
I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
And we'll be coming back, and we'll be talking about lots of other things.
Sounds good.
With Northeastern Crossing.
All right.
Thank you and welcome back to Artists of Color. And my guest today is Derek Lumpkins, Director of Northeastern Crossing. Thank you for being with us today, Derek.
Glad to be here.
Hey, our conversation's been really, really good.
Yeah.
I'm really excited because I live in Northeastern Crossing. What do you tell me? You're gonna get me a bed and a blanket and a pillow?
Get you a dorm room upstairs, get you a desk with a chair downstairs. Yeah, you'd be all set.
There you go. See? Tell me about your staff. Now, you told me a little bit, like, what they do when they're out, like, of course, Marissa's from Roxbury, you're from Roxbury, Chu's from the South End and Chinatown. So I understand how they get around, but I have one little question. And my question is this. Does Northeastern Crossing intend to move much more up into the communities? The reason I say that is Dorchester is part of Boston. Mattapan's part of Boston. But I'm thinking of the lower part of Dorchester and like the Grove Hall area. How have you guys been working on trying to get connected with some of the institutions, some of the organizations that are up there? Reason I'm saying that is because, as I've said to you guys before, I talk to people and I tell them about Northeastern Crossing and they look at me like I got 5 heads, like, what is it and where is it? And I say to them, you guys don't know? And it's like, how are you getting the name Northeastern Crossing out there? How are you getting knowing of the space out there to people further than just this little area in Mission Hill and Fenway and the South End? Because there's more to Roxbury than just that. So I'm asking that question.
So that's not a little question. But
okay, it's loaded.
So we try to do that in multiple ways. So looking at the media, let's start with media. So we do put ads in the banner, in the South End, put them in the banner, the South End News, and the Mission Hill Gazette. So we put them in 3 newspapers. The banner goes across the entire state.
That's right.
So it's not like we're not.
No, it's actually you are getting.
Right. So we are getting out there. But people breeze through newspapers. They don't always read as carefully.
Exactly.
They don't read all the ads. People don't always read ads, and which is unfortunate because some of the ads, I read ads all the time because there's a lot of really great information in newspaper ads. And
True.
so we put ads in the banner once a month. Sometimes more than that, depending upon how much content we have to promote, but at least once a month.
Oh, okay.
We're also on social media.
Always on social media.
Always on social media. So I run the Twitter account, Marissa takes care of our Facebook account, and Chu handles our Instagram account. So always on. So we kind of divide that labor up as well. So we're always doing that. We have our rack cards, we have our other printed materials
Right.
we try to distribute in key locations, but we also have events where we are very intentional about trying to invite as many people from a broad section of the city to attend. So with the Jeff Chang event, that was one thing. With our community benefits annual report, we had a reception for that, so we invited as many people as possible to come to that as well. So we try to extend our reach through what we have available in terms of media and marketing. Again, we're a small staff of 3, so we can only physically go to so many places at once, but we do try to go to some neighborhood meetings, some association meetings. We try to go to meetings of different collectives. So for example, there's the Roxbury Cultural Network, which we are a member of, and so we try to go to those meetings.
Okay.
And then I also founded a group of other community relations directors for universities in Boston. So there's at least there's at least a good 25 universities in the city and Cambridge combined. And so again, going back to how I started, being at the small nonprofit and, knowing folks at the different universities, I thought, well, they must all know each other anyways, but it turns out they didn't.
No,
they may have seen each other, they may have been familiar with each other's work, but they didn't know each other. They didn't get together and sit down and talk with each other. And so I started a group of community relations directors who meet quarterly just to talk about what's going on, how we can work together, what are some issues that are coming up. We share information, we share resources, and so that's just another way in which we try to extend what we do by getting our colleagues, our peers, to also tell some of their constituents as well. So there's lots of different ways in which we try to do that and try to get beyond just the immediate mile or mile and a half of where we are and go a little further. And again, because the three of us live in the neighborhoods that are adjacent to the university, we don't necessarily live right next door. We live a little bit further away. So we also tell our neighborhood associations, we tell our friends, we tell our families, we do try to get the information out as much as we can.
Okay. I know it was a loaded question
No,
when I asked it.
It's fine.
But I needed to know that because I always talk to people, and when I'm out in the street and and I'm just going here and going there, and I'm always saying, hey, I'm on my way to Northeastern Crossing because that's my new home.
Right.
I can go there and work. There's no TV. There's no nothing. It's just a computer. It's just the space. And it's good for me to work there. But I also, come to a lot of the events there.
Right.
And that's a good thing. I've learned that between Northeastern Crossing, and we're not putting anybody out, but Hibernian Hall are my basically two places. Now, how does one get to use the space at Northeastern Crossing? How does one do that?
So there are essentially 4 different spaces there.
Right.
So 2 of them are just always open to the public. So one of them being the internet counter. So there's 4 public computers there.
Yes.
Hooked up to the internet, anybody can come in and use those 4. It's first come, first serve. And usually we have maybe 2, maybe 3 people there at the most. So there's always at least 1 computer that's available to anybody to come in and use.
Exactly.
The other space that's always just open is the lounge. As long as there's no bigger event happening next to the lounge, there are 3 sofas that are all sort of configured into a circle, so anybody can come in.
I love those.
They can just sit
sofas.
down. Yeah, the sofas
are comfortable and nice.
Some people don't find them so comfortable.
I
don't
do.
find them so comfortable, but people love them. So,
Yes.
so there's the 3 sofas and the coffee table. Anybody can come in, just sit down with a cup of coffee, with their computer, with their book. With a friend, just come and sit down and have a conversation, and we've had people do that all the time. So those are sort of the 2 spaces that, if our doors are open, you can come in and just use those 2 resources. So the other 2, so there's a classroom space that can seat up to 40, and then there's the conference room space that can seat 12.
Right.
And those 2 spaces, for the most part, do require some type of reservation. So
Okay.
Northeastern Crossing is free and open to the public at all times. So we will never charge for a reservation for either of those 2 spaces. But we do need a reservation in order to not have people competing.
Use it.
Yeah.
Competing for the
same
space.
thing at the same time.
That's true.
So people just can go onto our website, which is northeastern.edu/crossing. There's a tab that says contact. They just click on that tab and it says request space. Then you just fill in the form. It's a very simple form. I think there's only 7 questions.
Yeah, that's all.
And then,
Because I recently did it.
yeah, and then it goes to the staff review it, we look at the calendar, and then as long as there's no competition for the time, then we just send an email saying you're confirmed and please let us know if there are any changes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
You also you have art exhibits.
Yes, yes.
I love your art exhibits. And you also do, when some of your art exhibits, you have workshops with them.
Yes, yes.
Which was interesting the other day. How does one get to exhibit their work?
So that's a little bit more complicated because the way public art works at Northeastern, it's done by a central office that's run by the campus curator. So the campus curator, so the way we've been working with him is we sent out a notice saying that we're looking for artists to exhibit at Northeastern Crossing. And so we received, I think, about 60 different...
Wow.
Yeah, about 60 different applications of people who wanted to display their work. And then, we went through as a staff and we picked the ones that we thought would look the best in the space. And then we sent our recommendations to the campus curator and that team, and then that team then picked the finalists.
Oh,
so there's a win-win.
You don't get to pick the finalists. I thought you guys did.
We don't get to pick the finalists, but we do have influence in terms of who gets selected, by the sense that, okay, if there are 60 people and we're only forwarding 7, there's 7 that we like.
Right.
So regardless of who the 7 are, we still are going to get someone we like.
That you like.
Right.
Okay. Now, I know when you opened up, you had ECWA.
Yes.
And she was there for a minute.
Yes.
I remember. When you say, like you say, you have 60 applications and you pick however many, 7 or 8 or whatever, how many of those artists, how do I want to put this? How many artists of color, excluding Equa, how many artists of color have you gotten applications for? It doesn't have to be, a large amount. I'm just getting an idea as to how many artists of color know about the space that have actually asked for the usage of the space.
So just to sort of break things down a little bit.
Yeah.
So Equa was someone that everybody had been talking about before we even opened. So she didn't apply. Like people. Yeah, the folks who take care of artwork at the university already knew about Equa Holmes, for people who are wondering.
Don't know.
Right. So they already knew about her work.
Okay.
And then they said, okay, well, let's see how we can incorporate her work into the space. And so that was more or less thought about before I even arrived. But they didn't know how to contact her, so that's when I came on board.
That's how you got.
I'm like, oh, that's easy. I got a number. I'll just give her a call. So that's how that kind of happened. And then with the next group of artists, so that was work on loan from the Museum of the National Center of Afro-American Artists.
Right.
So again, that was another contact that I brought in. Because I thought, well, there's a museum right up the street that has all this work that's not on display. Why don't we just get in touch with him and see if he'll loan us some? And so that's how the next round of work came in.
Okay.
So then after that, it was a question of, well, we don't want to just hand pick all the artists. We want to open this up to a broader selection of people. And so that's when we sent out the RFP or the RFQ, whatever it is, to say if someone would like to exhibit, please fill this out. And that's how we got all those applications. Right.
So it's basically like a call for artists for the space.
Exactly. Yes. So of the artists who applied for that, I didn't break it down by number or by percentage, but I'd say it's at least 60% people of color. Okay. Because we did say that we wanted, there was a preference for artists from the neighborhood surrounding the university, which is predominantly neighborhoods of color.
Right.
So, and also just given the networks that we brought in as staff, then it's going to go to networks that have a high percentage of people of color. So just the way things have been structured, not necessarily intentionally in terms of saying
it just happened to come out that way.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
Now, what is this? When you have an artist that comes in and they're showing their work, what is basically the length of time that an artist leaves their work up in the space?
We're still trying to finalize that. So Equa was up for a decent amount of time. I don't think it was a full year, but it was quite a long time.
It was a good time.
It was a good amount of time. It was at least 8 months. And I think the artwork on loan from the museum was also up for about 8 to 10 months. Okay. And so, working there every day, it's great artwork, but also we want to see some artwork
Something different change.
Right. So we're now trying to work with the campus curator on standardizing the amount of time so that it's between 4 to 6 months. So if we do 4 months, then we can fit maybe 3 artists in a year. If it's 6 months, then we can do 2. So just trying to be more standard in our approach, so that it does change and it does keep people coming back to see the new artwork and to give more people opportunity to show their work as well.
Yeah. Okay. Now I was wondering about that. There is going to be, in May, there's going to be a challenge or a talk with young people. All of a sudden I can't remember the name, because Marissa said, you're going to be there. I said, okay, Marissa. It has to do with young people having a voice.
Oh, is it the AWA Youth Slam?
Yes.
Okay.
Tell folks what that's about.
So I'm still relatively new to this. It was something that was just finalized within the past week or so I'm still getting up to speed on it.
Oh.
But I don't know what AWA, so it's AWAY.
Yep.
I don't know what those letters stand for. I think one of them is Asian Youth. I think it's probably Asian Youth, something Asian Youth, but I don't know.
No, that's not the one I'm talking about.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, let me finish talking about it
now that we started.
So Chu brought that group in, and it's a group of teenagers from Boston generally. Asian teenagers from Boston who will be talking about just some of the difficulties that they've had being American teens growing up with immigrant families and just some of the dissimilarities that they've had with their families, and also just trying to have them understand what they're trying to face as young people in the U.S.
Right.
Right.
Because their parents are immigrants, so
Right.
it's a different.
And they're doing that through poetry.
Oh, nice.
So it'll be like a poetry slam.
Okay, then that's not I didn't even know about that one. But there was another one. It's the 9th of May, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, Pancakes and Partnerships.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah.
But I know about that one. No, this is young people. It's the 4th of May, not the 9th.
Narratives of change.
You know what it is?
Narratives of change.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So when you say young people, you mean, because
Aren't they young people?
some of them are.
Oh, well, as I was looking at the card that I have, it looks like
Okay.
basically young people.
So they're in their 20s and 30s.
Yes.
Okay.
Young people.
Yeah. Okay. So younger than us. We'll go there.
No, younger than me.
us. I'm older than 30 as well.
Oh, okay. Never
Yes.
mind. Let's not go there.
Okay. So narratives of change. So that was something else that you brought together along with Ron Jones. You know Ron? You saw Ron Jones. I don't know if you had a chance to talk to him.
Yeah.
So Ron Jones, for folks who don't know, is a playwright based here in Boston.
Yes, he is.
Who did a play, I forget what it was called, but it was about people from Roxbury who were talking about growing up in Roxbury. So
Yep.
he interviewed a bunch of us and did
Oh.
a play based on that was at Hibernian Hall a couple of months ago.
I missed him.
So he was brought back to Northeastern. She was working, I think, with the archives and with the art department on having his work come to campus somehow. And because there was the release of the Lower Roxbury Oral History Project was coming up, we wanted to do something that sort of brought it up to the modern times. So that Oral History Project was focused on mostly people who are seniors who were living in Lower Roxbury back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, maybe the 50s.
The beginning of the 50s.
Right. So it was an older set of folks. And so they wanted to
Which is beautiful.
contemporize that sense of an oral history and a narrative by having people who are mostly people of color, all people of color who are from Boston, talking about their stories growing up in the city. And what they have in common, besides being in Boston and being people of color, is that they're also all Northeastern affiliated. So there's some students, there's some staff, and I believe there might be one faculty person. But they're all basically they're doing their oral histories of their time growing up in Roxbury, but also being part of the Northeastern community. And so that is happening on May 4th.
That's the one.
In the evening, I believe.
Yep, I think it is too. I was, because, you and I were together. I was surprised looking at the different people, the ones that they automatically said were there, in the presentations, and those that, that spoke. But when I went in later and I went into the website, and I found my mother-in-law.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I knew that Lolita had done the interview with her back in 2008, but I didn't know that that's the project that she was working on.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was oh wow.
Did you watch the whole thing?
With your
mother-in-law?
Mother-in-law? Yeah, I did.
Okay. What did she talk about?
She talked about going to school and her family as being immigrants, because her mother and her father were immigrants.
From where?
From British Guiana.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And Dominica.
Dominica? Okay.
Dominica.
Okay.
Her father was from Dominica and her mother's from British Guiana.
Wow.
Yeah, and she talked about, growing up and being the oldest, because she was the oldest. She had a baby brother and two younger sisters and a baby brother. And she was the oldest, and talked about when she got married and how when her mom passed away, about making her wedding dress. I mean, and her wedding dress is absolutely gorgeous, but she hand sewed that satin like unbelievable.
Wow. Were these all new stories to you, or did you know some of these before?
Some of them, the stories about her wedding and making her wedding dress and about where her parents came from, I knew that. Okay. But things about, she went to the Timothy School. Okay. And she talked about girls high. Okay. When I was a little girl, there was a school on Warren Street, but I never knew that was Girls High.
I think if you go past one of the sides of the building, I think it still says Girls High.
Girls High on it?
Yeah.
I'll have to look. Yeah. You know, I never knew that
Yeah.
because as I remember also when they began to change that space, and it turned into
The Burke, I think.
no, right on Warren Street. Girls
Yeah.
High was on Warren Street, right
Right.
there across the street, right across from where not Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's. Right now, it's an apartment.
Oh,
It's
down there.
down
so
there.
Not where Latin Academy is
Not
now.
where Latin Academy is.
Okay, okay.
Latin Academy was Technical High School.
Okay.
Yep.
But before then, it was something else.
Yeah, it was. I don't remember what it was.
Right.
But I know it when my family moved from Lower Roxbury up to what they call Sugar Hill now. That was Technical High.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was like back in 58, 59.
Okay.
But, you know, to get all that information, and I saw lots of different people. I was scrolling through seeing who but that was a beautiful project. Yeah, I
Yeah.
really liked it. The project was very, very interesting and very historical. I would like to see that. I actually would like to see Northeastern Crossing do something like that.
Well, that project is actually online. It's a digitized
Yeah.
project, so anybody can go online and do that.
Yeah, but I'm saying Northeastern Crossing.
In what capacity?
In
though?
what capacity? Bringing it up to speed, like with all the stuff that you guys are doing. You know, I mean, you work with the arts, you work with the community, you work with health, and I'd like to see something like that, an up to speed as to what's going on in like the Roxbury communities today.
Okay.
So that's a thought.
We'll have to talk more.
Yeah.
Talk more
okay.
offline and think about that.
That's a good idea. And I must say, I too am very passionate about Northeastern Crossing because they helped me get interns for my art and cultural publication that I do, and they helped me with that. And I got 3 fabulous editors who worked with me. And when I launched my website last November, I launched it from Northeastern Crossing. And we have this picture of me and Derek together as I pressed the button.
I forgot about that picture.
I got that picture.
Yeah, let's not post that.
I should have had that as one of the pictures.
That's okay. We're good for now.
We're good for now. But
yeah.
I like the space. I like what you guys are doing there. I like the fact that there actually is a space that communities within the Boston area can come to, you know, and do different things.
Right.
You know, do different things.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So I also want to, just thinking about the programming, I want to throw out a few more things
Yes,
if there's
please.
time. So
Yeah,
one is the HR boot camps. So
Oh,
we've been
yeah.
working with the Human Resources Department on providing different types of boot camps for people. So resume writing and how to improve your LinkedIn profile, just different things that help people improve their professional presentation. So
Yeah, I
things
was
like
at the LinkedIn workshop.
How was that?
It was very good.
Yeah.
The woman that did it was absolutely fantastic.
That's good.
And she sent me information afterwards. So
good.
Yeah,
Good.
she did.
Was that Martha?
I think maybe that was a little woman,
Yes.
short hair. This was a white woman.
Oh, no.
That's who
person.
did that one.
Okay.
And she was very good though.
Okay.
She was very good.
I hear the music.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
We'll find out in a minute. Nice to have you with us this afternoon. And my guest is Derek Lumpkins, Director of Northeastern Crossing. Derek, thanks for being with me today.
Good to be here.
Yeah, we've been doing a bit of everything.
We have been.
You know,
Yeah.
Before we went on break, you started to talk about some other
programming.
Yeah, let's continue with that, please.
So I was focusing on the professional development programming. So I was looking at the HR boot camps.
Right.
And thinking about, there's the resume writing, there was LinkedIn, there's just a couple of ways in which people could just improve some of their resume writing skills or their professional skills so they could, if they were looking for jobs, looking to change jobs, they would have different opportunities in order to improve their professional presentation around that.
Right.
For those who already have jobs, we also offer a salary negotiation workshop.
I didn't get to come to that.
So,
yeah.
so we've offered that maybe 4 or 5 times, and it's proven to be very popular.
Really?
Yes, so we've had that a couple of times in the afternoon after work, and a couple of times in the afternoon around lunch. And the lunchtime ones are full. So I don't know if people are just having a bad day or if they're just like, I need to get that salary negotiation soon. What? Right, but those always tend to be full. And so, yeah, they get really, really good turnout.
Yeah. You also do goal writing workshops.
Yes, so we haven't had very many of those, but we've had a couple of those.
Yep, and I've been to two that you've had, I've been to.
Okay. And then we also have financial literacy.
Yes, I've been to that.
Which we've done with Nick Josie.
Yes.
And he does that as a 3-part series. So the third of the 3, for the most recent one, is coming up sometime in May. I don't remember the exact date. But he covers 5 different topics over a period of 3 Saturdays, and it's only 2 hours per Saturday. So you're just taking 6 hours out of your life to improve your financial situation, or think about the ways in which you can improve your financial situation. So we try to find different ways in which we can meet people where they are, whether it's through the arts, whether it's through their jobs, whether it's through their personal finances, whether it's through programming or projects that they're working on, to really have an impact in different ways around the neighborhoods.
In your programming, how do you connect the community with the university? What is your connecting? How do you do that?
It depends on what the program is. So, for example, we talked earlier about the Gateway Mixer, so that September event where we had little prompt questions on the tables. And so the questions, I don't remember what the questions were, but they might say, what neighborhood are you from? Or how long have you been in Boston? Or what's your favorite thing about Roxbury? Just really simple questions that would give people something to begin having a conversation with, because we did intentionally say to people, this is for students, faculty, staff, and community residents. So you're all here. No one's wearing a name tag, so you can kind of tell who a student is because they're going to look younger. But in terms of faculty, staff, and residents, and some residents are also staff and faculty.
That's right.
People wear multiple hats. Some students are also residents. People wear multiple hats. They have multiple identities, and so you never really know who you're talking to. Someone could walk up to you thinking that you're a professor, and we would never know. People sometimes mistake me for being a student.
See?
And so, you just never really know who you're going to talk to. And so we're being very intentional about dissolving the barriers, removing some of the perceptions around who people are and where they come from, so that we're creating community on a greater scale. So it's not just Northeastern and the neighborhoods, but it's just this one unified as possible, this one united community of people who are all working to solve things and to work on things together.
Okay. I've been to a couple of them, and I'm not sure what they're called. We've done programs where you guys have questions up on the glass.
Yes.
And then and people walk around, and each question, and you get, I forget what those are called.
I don't think we really had a name for them. They were just sort of feedback sessions.
Okay.
This was really early on, when we were just opening, to get a sense of what are people, because we have an idea of what we can do. We have an idea of what we want to do, but we're only 3 people out of thousands. And so we want to get a sense of, whether you're on campus or off campus, what do you want from this space? Because if it's going to be a community space that's open and accessible to everyone, then everyone should have some level of feedback to say what they want. See. Because if we're creating things and creating programming that nobody wants, no one's going to come. So it just would be self-defeating if we did that. So a couple of times, maybe 2 or 3 times, we would just put questions up around the room, whether it was on the glass or on the partitions or whatever it was. And we gave people sticky notes and pens and said, okay, just answer these questions. Right.
Exactly.
And that's all it was. It was that simple, so that no one felt pressured to answer, one particular. They didn't feel put on the spot. They felt like they could really get their ideas out there and become part of Northeastern Crossing in a different way.
Derek?
Yes.
Quickly, tell people how to contact Northeastern Crossing.
They can give us a call at 617-373-2555 or go online to northeastern.edu/crossing.
Thank you. Thank you, Derek. It was a great conversation. I had a wonderful time.
Same here.
And at least I didn't throw you across the room.
Don't forget, June 15th, second anniversary, gifts are accepted.
Oh, yes, we will not forget that.
Great.
Oh, yeah. So I didn't realize that's when I had no idea that it was the 15th. I thought it was